for it. The cue. There's the cue. All right. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, am I excited for today's conversation? This guy is a mirror image of myself, more evolved than me, I have to say. I long to step into his shoes and what he's doing in the world. This is Tony Lucero, uh, a gentleman who's come into my life, a lighthouse of light, love, happiness, inner child, all of those things. He loves music too. Uh, Loves Journey. Can't go wrong. You can't not love somebody that doesn't love Journey. All right. Anyway, Tony, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate taking the time out and having a conversation about my book and about the work that we both do in the world.
Oh man, it's such a pleasure. What a treat. This we kind of got like a blind date set up, right? Like we had a friend that goes, "Oh my gosh, you got to meet my buddy," and "Oh my gosh, you got to meet my buddy." And here we connect, and we started talking like, "Oh my gosh, we're like brothers from other mothers," you know?
I know, isn't it true? That's a beautiful thing, and we've both been fortunate enough to have those exchanges in life where we just meet people and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I feel like I've known you all my life,
Yeah.
or it's a beautiful thing when energies connect like that.
They say like-hearted people attract,
Yeah,
and when they're supposed to. So I know you've been doing so much goodness, getting ready, launching this amazing book, which I know we're all excited about, like you developing your story. I've been working on my story, which I continue to work on my story, just like you will continue to work on your story. Like it's like we're
yeah.
all working on our story. But then at this perfect time when you're getting ready to make this launch happen, it's like here we are. The timing is perfect.
Here we are. I know, and I'm looking forward to today too because you've written a book
Mm,
yourself, and you are of service to people in the world and what you do, and I know a lot of it ties into some of the things we're going to talk about with my book.
yeah.
So, Tony, the mic is yours, my friend. I know you don't really know a lot about me, so this is your chance to dive in with some of our audience members out there.
Yeah, no, it's always intriguing to meet somebody that writes a book, because I believe like a lot of people have that, they have enough experiences. They go, boy, it'd be really cool. Like one of my dreams or my wish list is to
Mm.
is to write a book, and then life gets in the way, and then it's just a thought, right? But to actually say, you know what, I've experienced things in my life. I have things that I'm passionate about that I've used as tools to help people during the course of my life as I'm growing. Like to actually, I feel there's value there, and to actually write a book and follow through with that, like that's like next level. So I guess like when was the deciding moment where you said, you know what, I'm going to write this book. Like this is getting done no matter what. This my dog is snoring right now. You hear him? Louis, what are you doing, son? Okay. Sorry about it. Louis wants to know the two. He's actually telling what? Oh, so you want to know, like, okay, Louis even says, why do this? Like, why do you feel now is the time for you to do this?
Yeah.
What was the deciding moment that actually said, you know what? I'm writing this thing. I don't know how, but I'm just going to write this.
Yeah, the defining moment was when I went back to Rhode Island 2 years ago, literally a couple days ago. So 2 years ago, I went back to move both my parents into a nursing home, and so I had just kind of come out of a 2 year prior jungle event of me just searching in the jungle of my mind and going through trying to find out who the heck I am, honestly. And so I, with the work that I do, I started to just kind of talk more about that journey when I was on podcasts and things like that. And because I have lived a colorful life, which I know you can relate to as well. There was also a lot of different events that had happened in my life, and living in New York and LA and being exposed to a lot of situations that perhaps many people are not, and also doing different things career wise and having some experiences that I think enriched my tapestry of how I show up to clients and coaching and all of that. And so when I would throw some of those in with the evolution of who James is, people are like, I kept hearing, you should write a book. You should write a book, you know? And so the seed was in there. However, it wasn't until I got back to the nursing home and my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I realized this is it. It's a full circle event for me, especially the inner child, the little Jimmy was asthmatic and was always taken care of by his parents and always in the hospital and being looked after. And here I am now, role reversal, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is it. This is a story that I need to tell about a journey, and try to understand, like all of us, understand life, understand the past, how it influences the future. Can we change? Can we rewrite what's yet unwritten by doing our inner work? And then I started, and as you can probably relate, Tony, I didn't know where I was going. I knew the book, but now it's a completely different offering than I originally even thought. It was, it's just an
Yeah.
amazing process.
Yeah. It's, so this book has helped you heal,
Mm.
helped you see, which when I wrote my book, the same thing. It's like there was stuff that was coming up that I still needed to
Yeah.
experience so that I could teach, like you're now teaching and assisting people on their path. I just love it. I mean, I just love the way that some of the stuff that I've seen, like your storytelling though, is, were you a writer like in one of your past lives or something? Because it doesn't read like normal. Like it's very well thought out, very well versed, very well articulated. So where did that come from? I know you've had an extensive background like on TV and things like that, but my goodness, like your vocabulary is insane, brother.
Thank you. Thanks, Tone. I was joking the other day. It could be, I got it somehow from my grandfather, Malcolm. It's either Malcolm or the Milkman, because my parents, God bless them, they weren't very artistic or just creative souls that way.
Yeah.
So I've always been an artist, and that's part of my book. I think children, the common denominator we all have is we were all children once, and we all created our masterpieces each and every day, you know? And so we were all artists. And I don't know, that romance of language, Tony, just seems to flow in my thought patterns, it's just how I channel it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like that whole channeling is usually what it is, right? So when you get in that I call it the frequency, we get in that frequency or the focus or the flow, and that true essence of you, that child comes out, which is really interesting too, because we're dudes, right? We're men. Let's be real, right? We're men. But to talk about little Jimmy, to talk about little Tony, Tony the Tiger. I was always Tony the Tiger as a kid. To talk about a man and this inner child and referring back to a time, when you were in this playground, a different playground than you're now, right? So I always see life as we're in these different playgrounds. And as a child, we were in this beautiful playground where things were free and you had, ask questions, like you didn't take no for an answer. Everything was why? And then eventually somebody would say, all right, just give it to him, right? So why is an adult man, why is it so important for us to remember that child, that kid, that baby at this stage, and why even write a whole book about it, a whole journey of how important it is to go back to that time.
Wow. So there's so many things. I look at the inner child, and I look at all of us when we were young, and each day was greeted with the air of possibility, the wonder, the love. Who does being present better than a child? Stick a child out. You and I are roughly the same age. We just go play. We didn't get distracted on this media shit. It's go play.
Yeah.
Go create. Go visualize. Go dream. Go live. That's the shit that probably fused some of my writing too. I mean, that's truly living in the moment. Uh, and I think it's important that one of the flags that I wave is we all at some point walk through this doorway of life into adulthood. Some
Mm,
way, some earlier than others. When we go through that doorway, we're handed a manual of how we need to think, behave, act, spend money, buy this, do this, marry here, save money, all of that. It's like we're stamped on the conveyor belt of expectation,
yeah.
right? That didn't exist when we were children, and so getting back to that, which is really getting back to our truth. What is your truth? What is my
Mhm.
truth? Walking in that. And so I think that's part of the reason why it's so imperative we all go back or reconnect or embrace, walk hand in hand with our inner child moving forward in all we do, work, life, relationships, everything, um, play, love. Yeah,
I
it's
know,
all
but
there.
James, isn't that a sign of weakness, though? A man, acting like that, because that's what society wants us to believe, right? Is to, oh my gosh, you're acting like a child, Tony. Oh, you act like a child, James. Like, why are you acting like that? It's like, isn't does that even matter at this point? I mean, are we through enough of the ego and enough of the keeping up with the Joneses and enough of all of the competition to say now is the time to get back to what truly truly matters, that truth, like you call that the
Yeah.
true truth of who we are and why we're here and what is important in our lives.
What is important? I mean, there's a reason the Neanderthals died out, right? That whole male persona just does. There's just no place for it in a world of, and especially in this day and age. Come on, we
Yeah,
need consciousness. We need conscious. If you want to label conscious alpha males, whatever you people want to stick labels on it, but divine, walking, masculine, feminine. There's all these labels, as you know. It's just love, baby. Lead with love, Tone. Come on. I mean, people, it's you and I are probably, and I have another really good friend of mine, Ben, cut from the same cloth.
mhm.
Like, where people have no problem saying those are masculine dudes.
Yeah,
And I'll be the
yeah,
first to be like, yeah. And half of me is divine feminine,
yeah,
100%,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, it's so important to have that polarity, right? I mean, to be lopsided or one-sided, or
Yeah.
you have to have that. And I believe a lot of the things that are happening all around us outside this conversation in the world is because of the male dominance without this thing called love. It's so crazy about the word love because this is for me one of my filters when I do anything. Like, am I truly loving this and honoring this and this
Mhm.
conversation? Like this is love to me. And I remember with a company many years ago when we were talking about like our mission statement and we were talking about, what we're going to, how we're going to show up and the culture we want to create. This whole idea is I go, well, we need to have love. Like we need to have love somewhere in all these big, $100,000 words you guys are creating. We want to scale when we need to have the feeling or the frequency, I like to call it, of love. And everybody's like, what the heck? Well, we don't want to, we're too corporate. We don't want to come out and say have love in any tagline, but hey, Steve, let's figure out another word for love. It's like, no, 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 no. What the world's need now is love, sweet love. That's what it
Right.
needs right
Right.
now.
Right.
So, but
Oh,
I just love the fact that being okay with bringing love and adding love and doing things with love and leading with love and teaching with love and communicating with love and being present with love. Like that is, man, if we just get that as humanity, game over.
right.
Game
Right.
over.
And thankfully, even in business sectors, right, we're seeing that paradigm shift. They
Yeah,
may not use that four-letter word in some
yeah,
of their, brand DNA language. However,
yeah,
it's there if they're talking about relationship currency and not moving away from transactional. That's all love.
yeah,
However you want to come boil it down to, the most complex thing in the world is simplicity, right?
yeah,
Love.
yeah.
There it is.
I remember this will date everybody. Well, me and you. Happy Days. Remember Fonzie? He could
Jody
never
loves
say
smacking
love.
me.
You go, he could never say the word love because he was Fonzie. Remember that?
I do remember that.
And,
Yeah.
and it stuck. It stuck for
Oh
decades.
my God,
It
that's
stuck for
funny.
decades. Isn't that funny? Oh my God. It's like I'm all these tapes, these beautiful tapes are playing now as we're in this frequency. Like, oh my God.
The
I remember
Fonz.
for a man like Fonzie in the leather jacket to be so cool, but to even have a challenge saying that word, it's
I know,
beautiful.
right? And look at some of the amazing people that do work in this world. That's their intention.
Yeah.
Everything they do, just like you said,
Yeah.
love, right?
Yeah. So what was your intention when you write this book? Like last night I was working with some of the people that I do classes just like you do and teach people. But last night, one of the words that was on my slide that has kind of become my real my starting point for anything I do is the word intention. So when you were mapping out this project, this book, what was the end in mind? What was the intention behind it all? At the not just on the surface level, right? Like, hey, I'm going to have this business card now that people can like that do all that. What was the loving intention when you started putting this together?
Originally, out of the gate, it was.
Or was it even love? Was it something even deeper than that?
Well, it actually was something simpler than that to start with. I think it was just to find me, to somehow I knew instinctively this book would help me truly be reborn.
Mm.
And for people that know me, my life, I've only been James, which is my real name, but I've never gone by James my entire life.
Yeah.
It's only in the last handful of years here, which coincides to this book and the journey. So out of the get-go, it was to find me and to honor the path that led up to this moment. So before I go into the jungle to find me, I also wanted to honor the good, the bad, and the ugly leading me up to this moment. And because I knew acceptance was going to play a huge part in me finding as I say in the book, finding the tree of life to be reborn. I knew that acceptance was going to be a huge thing. And love started to come in terms of self-love, and just loving myself and forgiving myself, because I think, Tony, I don't think it became clear early on in the writing process that I've been living with this abandonment of little Jimmy for a long time. And so that rift, that fissure that happened when I walked through that doorway into adulthood started to widen and widen, to the point where it became almost like a Grand Canyon type expanse between who I was and what I thought I would be and do and be like as a person, to this guy Jim, standing at the edge of his own life. So yeah,
this is like really thought provoking for me right now, because I was born Anthony, right? So if the only time I was ever called Anthony is when my mom was upset. Anthony, what are you doing? Like clean your room, whatever. So it's really interesting the way that you now are James. And when we're born, let's say, imperfect. We're perfect in God's eyes, perfect in Source's eyes, perfect in, our parents' eyes. We're perfect in our God. Everybody that sees us when we're born goes, look at this little Jimmy, or look at this James, or look at the Jimmy, look at Tony, and or Anthony. And it's interesting now that I've shed enough skin in my life. I've had enough experiences, and I will continue to have experiences. That's just life. That how this whole Anthony thing, my driver's license has always had Anthony on it. Everything legal has always been Anthony, but I've always shied away from it. And I was actually born an Anthony. Now that I hear the name Anthony and I hear where I'm at in my life, it's like I kind of think that's cool to go back to what I was,
Right.
because Tony was this. I was in a different suit, and Tony was playing in all these playgrounds, learning all this stuff, becoming the person that I've always known I was, which was Anthony. I was born this perfect gift, that had talent, skills, abilities to, that was a sponge for information. And I feel like, I'm going to actually have a talk with my wife, actually, probably when we get done here. That maybe I am, reborn in a sense. And maybe I am going back to my roots. And maybe I'm going back to that perfect little child that
Mhm.
was seen by everyone as this light. My last name is Lucero, which means bright light. So I don't
Mm.
know. Now you got me thinking. See, you've inspired me to maybe just change everything anybody ever knows about me.
Interesting.
And the truth that I
Interesting.
know about myself is I was born this. My dad thought about it. My real dad, which I love. My mom put energy into this name and this. God, well, our son's going to be an Anthony's. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like now I'm feeling like kind of like, who am I?
Yeah, I know.
And it's
I don't.
exciting. It's
It,
exciting because you can
it
be whatever you
is
want. As a kid, you can be whatever you want, whoever you want.
exactly right.
What does
So
it matter?
I don't think my parents ever called me James
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Ever. It's interesting though hearing you talk about Anthony, and I'll just throw this in for a little
Yeah.
cannon fodder for your discussion with your wife afterwards.
Jeez. Hold on. I got my pin right. Let's go. I'm gonna need some guidance on this one.
The in the my life, the book, it's got three perspectives in a sense. There's Jimmy, there's Jim, and there's
Yeah.
James. And James, I didn't know when I started to shift into James. I do now. James is Jimmy and Jim, and like we're all together
Mhm,
living. So
mhm.
James is a I it's a personification of little Jimmy's always next to me. Always.
Yeah.
He's never out in the other room. He's never forgotten in an apartment in Los Angeles when I left to dream. No, right? That's
Yeah.
James. It's I talk about wisdom. It's James is that blend of old and young in everything he does, everything he chooses to do, chooses to align with, what he says, conversations he has with people. That's the thing, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting. This is kind of
Hmm.
juicy, actually. You know, I have a friend of mine that was born a certain name, and later in life he became this new entity, this best version of himself, and his name is nothing to do with his past. Zero. Like it's not even,
Yeah.
complete. And I know a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all, you know, um, running from the government or anything like that. I just think that they shift so much and they've evolved so much, and what was isn't what is, and whatever they want to be in their isness today,
Right.
then it's like, why not? You know what?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that's a valid point. When you think about it, we are given a name.
Hmm.
We don't have a choice in that technically,
Yeah,
and if we want to break it down and go deep, it's like, well, if we're really trying to get back to our truth and uncover who we are and all of that,
yeah,
then I can see how some people decide, hey, you know what? I'm actually this, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
What was for you, like, the is there a moment in your life where, like, it was a defining moment, like you had the biggest epiphany, the aha moment where you said, "Oh my gosh, wow, this is epic. What I just experienced, whether it be, something you're dealing with, your mother, or like this, it was like your biggest wake up call. People call a wake up call their biggest,
Mhm.
whatever. What was that for you? If somebody say, "Hey, what was the biggest defining moment in your life, James?" It said that put you on this trajectory. Do you know what it is?
Mhm. Well, I would definitely say it's joining the rowing team at the University of Rhode Island. specifically my second year, which plays a huge part in the book. It was a magical year that defined me from that point on, when I was 20 or something, 19, 20. It defined me. It literally changed my life there forward. However, that's probably the biggest event in my life. An event which spurred that, though, was my senior year in high school. I had an asthma attack and I stopped breathing.
Okay.
And my dad, thankfully, my parents heard me hit the bathroom floor. Like, they always, my mom would hear a pin drop in the night. That's just the way it worked when I was always going to the hospital and couldn't breathe and all that. I had an asthma attack, stopped breathing. My dad had to pry my mouth open with a spoon, bring me back. And of course I was fine. I came back and I'm like, what's going on? I had to go to the hospital, just, run some tests, make sure, do the thing for a couple hours. I got back home at 3:00 in the morning. 2 front teeth were chipped. And I had a tennis match that afternoon. And of course my mom was like, well, you're going to stay home from school, Jimmy. I'm like, no, I'm not. So I went, played tennis. And it was one of those moments, Tony, where it's hard for me to talk. It's just the East Greenwich, the rival team, the East Greenwich player didn't exist on the other side of the net. It was asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing out of my skin. I was diving. I was making shots that, like, I had no business making.
Yeah.
None. And it was one of those moments for me. It went 5 sets, just like the movies, 5 sets, tiebreaker. I lost.
McEnroe and Borg. Here we go.
Here we go. Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of, like, I was making Borg style, Boris Becker style dives, like blood everywhere. And I was in it. And then the team members from both teams were watching this battle. And I was not a good tennis player by any stretch, right? It just happened. I had the last spot on the varsity team and I was doing my thing. And anyway, I lost, but I won. And from there on, I was just like, no, it's not going to take the driver's seat anymore. So 3 months later, I went against my doctor's wishes and I joined the rowing team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there, what had happened was, I started to achieve things and broke away from this weak, timid, fragile Jimmy to an athlete.
Yeah.
To a guy competing on the stage and had so many great things happen, which then gave me confidence, courage, swagger, you name it.
Perfect.
Then I wrote a check. Whatever I wanted to do when I graduated college, I knew I could do. So that was the launch pad for sure.
Yeah. And how old were you? 16, 15?
Yeah, I think 17. And
okay.
As a senior in high school, I would have been, just shy of turning 18 or something.
Yeah. The great thing is you had that happen at a young age. A lot of people don't have like their aha breakthrough moment until much, much later in life, until they've been, drugged through the mud and they have shrapnel from every wound, from every bad decision they've made and all this stuff. Right. Yeah. And so the fact that you developed this at a young age, this competitive spirit, this will, right, to, fight through and battle, whatever it was for you, like at that age is just awesome because it sets you up for what was next, for what was next, for what was next, for what was next, for what was next.
Exactly. And I've had some other milestone pivotal moments on that journey. They're all linked back though, of course, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had the same thing at 11 years old. Once I was removed from our situation that we had at our house, which was my stepfather who raised me. We were talking about this earlier. Mm-hmm. So we're set from 5 to 11 years old. This guy raised us, and my stepfather. And when we finally left, I remember the first summer I was in Houston, Texas. So we moved from California to Houston, and I'm on a teeter-totter right near a tennis court. I play tennis too, by the way. Uh, and I'm on this teeter totter at 11 years old, and I'm standing like right in the middle. So I'm balancing
Yep,
on both
yep.
sides, right? I don't even think make teeter totters anymore, but anyways, a kid they did. And so I'm standing on this. It's 105 degrees. First summer away from this person and this energy, and I looked up at the heavens, and I looked up and I said, for the first time in my life, or for the rest of my life, I'm going to choose happiness. That was it. Like, I didn't know what that meant at the time. I do now. But at the time, I just knew that I didn't want to deal with the bad feelings of my childhood and all that
Right.
negative frequency I was in. And happiness, kind of like what your driver's like, happiness became my driver. Like every decision I ever made, everything I've ever done, every, page on my book that I wrote was all with the intention that we talked about earlier of happiness. That's been kind of my love language, is just I do things only when I do it, my heart goes, wow, this feels good. This brings happiness. And then I would do it. So whatever job that was, whatever relationship that was, whatever business decision that was, going to a party, seeing a friend, like everything was like, oh, I would check in and go, is this going to bring me happiness? And if I was like off, I'd go, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. Because I know when I fought through the idea of happiness or making someone else happy, just because, it always was a nightmare. It always ended up being, we should never come, honey. I told you. They were fighting when we got here. They were in a bad mood. We should have stayed home like we were taught. Anyway,
Right.
So I've become to honor that at the highest and deepest level. This whole idea of, because my intention in happiness is not to do any ill will towards anybody. It's always coming from a place of love.
Sure.
And so in that space, magic happens.
Yes.
And I just want to be happy. I want to be the happy little kid that's always looking for the next thing to play with, remembering what that was in my past that brought me happiness, and music brought me that, and playing outside, and throwing rocks and taking my shoes off and dragging mud into the house. Like, this is all stuff that brought me happiness,
Well, and it's beautiful, kids, it just reminded me of a phrase that I use for business clients, passionately unattached. Kids have a beautiful way of being passionately unattached, and being resilient, and just, okay, like they have their moment, and then they're okay, on to the next, and they're in that moment, whatever that moment is, and I think we as adults tend to raise the stakes too much on every damn thing we do.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, I don't know, just passionately unattached for there it is.
I like it. And well, that's called ADD right now. You know that, right? So there's medication for that. When we were kids, we were like all over the place. Mom, I want to do this. I want to do this. Like, now it's called ADHD or ADD or whatever it's called for kids, right? I mean, we've diagnosed this beautiful free spirit.
Yeah.
Kids that we used to have as kids, where we're always wanting to do the next thing. And, oh my gosh, he's not shutting up. He wants to go this and, lay down, take a nap. Like, now it's called ADD, and now there's medication for it. And now we're terrible parents because we're not allowing our kids to be kids. Society says.
Right. Right.
So that's why.
Yeah.
That's book is
I
so
don't know. I was
important.
going to say, I don't know about you, but I feel like the play has lost its meaning.
Yeah.
In today's society, and just in today's, the playgrounds of youth are not the way they are or were when we were kids, in terms of play and what play does for the human condition and the human spirit.
Yeah, I don't even know where it happened, because I look at the way kids are raised right now, and I go, my gosh, these kids are not even walking 3 blocks to school. The parents will take them in a car and drop them off. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Oh my gosh, as long as I was home by 5 o'clock, and I lived in California, which is chaos. California, it's just
Right.
like, it's like the wild, wild west out there when I was a kid. But as long as I was home by 5, we're all good.
Yeah.
Here it's like, you got to have a cell phone when you're 9 years old, and you want an iPhone 13 Max at 10 years old, and it's like, what is going on? And it's like, where did it all happen? Where now we can't even let our kids go play because we're so afraid of our neighbors. Oh my, don't talk to Mary and don't talk to these people. It's like, what happened?
Well, that's a big part of it. I mean, we've definitely morphed into more of a fear-based society, for sure. We've morphed into a convenience-based society. Um, we we've I think somehow maybe society too, like we've attached more things that give us a sense of worth or status or whatever. We have to do this and drop this person off and do this and run here and put our kids in 30 different things because that's what we're supposed to do. Whereas I don't know about you, but I had little league. That was it. And then if the season switched, it was one thing.
Yeah.
Or it was trumpet when I was in elementary school and whatever for X number of years. But I wasn't treated. I didn't live the life like we were, aficionados or this Rembrandt child and exposed to all these different things because that's what cool people do or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to have that discussion with you at some point because I think that's a really good thing. It's where did it go?
I don't know.
Wrong. When? Like how? Why?
I don't know. I've like me being a parent. Oh, I'm frozen. Hold on there. There we go. I'm back. Me being a parent now, I have a 19-year-old. It's like the things that I did, when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's like I've never seen my son do any of that. Like because the communities are raising kids, not the parents these days. So somewhere along the line, this disconnection with parents raising kids turned into a community raising kids. So kids, my best friends on YouTube and all of my other friends on YouTube, then people would come over to our house, spend the night, and they're all on YouTube. They sit in a little pod in their room and they're all watching YouTube videos. Like, what is that? Like, you guys, there's this whole world outside. What are you guys doing? I don't know where it happened. Like crazy. Anyway, well, we definitely have to have that conversation because it would be interesting to see the timeline on if I put some energy behind like where actually the breakdown. It is a breakdown.
No.
So, and we're teaching everybody, hey, go play, get outside right now. You and I are like, hey, let's go find a playground. Let's go play. Let's get outside. Let's be young spirited. Let's be free.
Yeah.
Let's write books about it. Let's help people remember the truth, and their intention and without any expectation. I mean, it's powerful. I think I have some of those words on my board back here, but yeah, just powerful things we used to do as kids. We got to remember how to do those again.
Agreed.
And incorporate them into our adult life.
That's what you and I do, and some of the people that we're fortunate enough to be involved with. Yeah. That's a big part of what we do, right?
Yeah.
And on that note, Tony, if you would ask me when I started writing this book, if that was going to be my flag, like hand in hand, inner child, getting back to it, no, I did not see that evolving, and even my brand, the hero within, was now it's easy. Now it's the child. It's the inner child and use the hero within. But before it was just this, romantic kind of speak for what's inside of us. Right.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting to see that creative alchemy that happens when we actually do the work and write and create something. Because as you said to me before, everyone has a novel inside of them. Everyone has a story. We do.
Yeah. Best-selling book.
We do.
Yeah.
Right.
I have one more important question, probably the most important question I could probably ask you at this moment. Are you ready for it? You have your Kleenex ready? Your box of Kleenex?
You're going to ask me what I have for breakfast. What?
No. When you were a child, did you ever take a towel, like one of those big bath towels, put it on your back and have a bobby pin like Superman, to hold it together so it wouldn't come off, right? Did you ever do that?
Yes.
I say we need to do that. Let's bring that to the masses again. Let's all be the hero, the superhero within.
Yes. Yes. And I'll even, if we can get enough people behind this, Tony, I'll even do it in my tighty whities.
Done. That's easy for me.
I'll go out and run. I'll go out and run the. I'll run the boardwalk in White Rock here with my Superman bath towel on.
It's got to be one of those Bobby diaper pins. I used to do cloth diapers. I don't even make them anymore. But there was a big.
Those big suckers.
Bobby, with a big white head on it that like an elephant head or something like that. That was money. Like I put that thing on. I was unstoppable. I
I
wasn't.
was unstoppable.
I was. My dad would come at me with these terrible words. I'm like, dun, 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 like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
And that's another great thing. Not that we all need to escape something. However, in childhood we had those abilities. For you,
Yeah.
I know for you, escaping that situation, it was music.
Yeah.
It was Superman, right? For me, it was escaping my asthma was the ability to dream and to be and feel and put myself in an episode of Star Trek, and feel and do those things. So it's a beautiful thing. I do want to say though, I made the mistake of jumping off my roof with an umbrella when I was younger. That didn't go so well.
I've done that off a car, so we're close.
Okay.
I did it off a car.
Oh gosh, man! Tony, I love this. We should do some type of inner child chat.
Love it.
We'll do a series where we just riff on the beauty of the inner child.
It's done. My figure growing up was Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man. So that's another story altogether. But it's actually in my book, and so he was that person. Like no matter what was coming at me, I always felt like I had the ability to come back stronger, better, faster, whatever. So I always run around the house slow motion. Ding, 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 ding.
You made the noise too. Totally.
Yeah, looking for Bigfoot, all that. So it's just funny. I actually went on eBay and bought an original Steve Austin doll because I lost it. So I have a Steve Austin doll and I have the capsule that he was in. Like,
yeah,
it's just like a collector's item. It's been around, 50 years at least.
And that Steve Austin doll, I think the one of the eyes is, if I remember, is the bionic thing. You can see it, right?
Yeah. You look behind you. You look behind his head, and he pulled back his skin. He's got some little things here. He's got one in his leg. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Come back better, meaner, stronger, but you got to be a kid.
You got to be a kid.
You got to be a kid.
And look for that Sasquatch in that revolving tunnel. He's out there somewhere.
Right? See? Oh, I love it. Comes back, man. I love it.
Awesome.
I thought I was the only one watching that show, but obviously you did too. So good for you.
No. Steve Austin, come on. I even watched The Bionic Woman too. Kind of had to watch that too when that came out. Of course.
If they would have bionic babies, I would have watched that.
Oh man. Dude, we could talk all day. This has been great.
Thank you.
Tony, I appreciate you giving me your time and your space and your energy today just to talk about not just my book, of course, but also the power of the inner child and these words like happiness, love, play. They can on paper be just pedestrian simple words, yet when we truly live them, it's magic.
Yeah, it is. Figure out how to incorporate the child in you into your life today. Have fun, be playful, ask questions. Don't care what your neighbors think. I think with COVID, we've learned enough. We've been in a glorified timeout for 2.5 years. So you've been in a timeout. Now it's time to go play.
I love that. Time out in the corner. Now it's time to go play.
Let's go.
Some of it's been wearing a dunce cap for too long too. That's another
thing. Actually, the dunce cap slid down to right here, so it's not right here. Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay, now we're gonna be in trouble. Sorry, listeners.
So, for my community out there, definitely check out Tony's stuff. He's also on Instagram. Yeah. He's got some amazing content. Just heart-led, happiness guy. Does a lot of work with frequency too. So there's some really interesting things to check him out. And dive into his world. Tony, mad love to you.
Yes.
And I know I'll talk to you soon for sure.
I know. And if no one's told you today, I love you. No one said that yet.
Not yet.
You need better friends.
Love it. Well, I received that love you, and I'll raise you to I love yous. I love
Got it.
You.
Feel it. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Keep doing the good, brother.
You too. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Cheers.